Kristina recently had an offer accepted on a property.
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Stoneham, and we had multiple offers.
Ooh.
Of course, there were like 5 or 4 at that time.
Some other markets are slowing down a little bit, but I think in Middlesex Essex County in Massachusetts, we're still getting multiple offers.
I was inquiring on somebody else's property, and they had 8 offers yesterday.
I had one where we were the 27th offer.
Oh,
So it's happening. Kristina, Jerry, good morning. How are we today?
We're very good. How are you, Kailyn?
I'm very good. And Kristina recently had an offer accepted on a property.
yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Stoneham,
Mm-hmm.
and we had multiple offers.
Ooh.
Of course, there were like 5 or 4 at that time. And I think it's typical to see those multiple offer situations these days.
100%. And I think in our area, especially, we're continuing to see multiple offers. Some other markets are slowing down a little bit, but I think in Middlesex Essex County in Massachusetts, we're still getting multiple offers.
I just heard I was inquiring on somebody else's property, and they had 8 offers yesterday.
Yeah.
I had and stuff.
I had one where we were the 27th offer.
Oh,
So it's happening.
well, I have a saying on that. I trust that it's always the strategy the agents use. And I think when you have 27 offers, it means that it's probably severely underpriced by the agent, and they might have found a better, more balanced strategy to still get multiple offers, but yet not hustle to go through the hustle of bringing 3 offers. That's crazy.
I also think when you priced it a little bit too low, even though you're getting 27 offers, you're probably not getting as much money as you possibly could have if you put it right at that market value and let you get multiple offers without going crazy.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
What is your strategy? So say you have a property, your buyers really want it, they want to submit an offer, and you know there's at least 5 other offers on the table.
I always say clean, clean, clean. The offer has to be as clean as possible. Money is great, but terms are always better. So if you have someone say they're offering $50,000 above ask, and their terms are as clean as possible. They have no financing. They have no inspections. They can close when the seller wants to close. To me, that is a better offer than $100,000 over ask with a mortgage contingency, with a home inspection, and with a drop dead date for closing.
What else does it say about the buyer? Because when the seller's reading the offer, it's not just the terms they're looking at. They're getting a feel for the buyer's personality and whether or not the deal's going to go through.
I agree with Jerry. Cash, no contingency is the best offer everybody could dream of. But if you put yourself in the buyer's shoes, a lot of buyers, this is the first house they buy, this is the first inspection they want to go through to learn to educate themselves. And not everybody's ready to extreme like this, like waiving the inspection, waiving mortgage contingency, because if they do not have enough cash, they have to have a mortgage contingency. Therefore, there are also ways how you can walk around it to still make your offer more appealing, yet without going too extreme on the terms. Because, again, like a lot of buyers are vulnerable and they are afraid and they are not ready yet to take a risk because maybe that's the first offer they're making. Imagine you telling them, "Let's go, guys, 100 over."
Yeah.
You know, who would believe you? Like,
And you can never tell, and you should never tell your buyer not to put a home inspection.
oh yeah,
I firmly believe that. So I do know there is a way to get around doing the home inspection. And that's that pre-home inspection. I always would talk with the list agent and say, will you allow my buyers that are brand new to the market? They've never bought in a house before. They don't have the confidence or the experience. 9 times out of 10, they'll allow me to do a pre-home inspection prior to putting an offer in.
That's a good point.
They'll do that. Or the other thing is an aggregate, where you can say that the buyer will pay up to $25,000 in any It can be any number. I just threw 25,000 up there, but they can pay up to 25,000 in repairs. Anything over that, they would like to negotiate. Now that's a huge number, 25. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 10. It doesn't matter what the number is. But again, to your point, Kailyn, it shows flexibility on the buyer, and the sellers want to look and see who's going to be nice, easy to work with.
And I agree with Jerry. The amount has to be significant enough to show the seller the indication that we're not going to be difficult to work with. We're not going to nickel down little things. And what I also like to suggest is informational purposes only inspection. While you're on the hook, the buyer's on the hook to move forward and risking their first deposit, sometimes the peace of mind, healthy balance between kind of showing the seller that we are good to go and we just want to know for our own purposes, and at the same time peace of mind for the buyers knowing they do have an inspection, and if something major like structural, like 30K or 40K repairs, they would be more willing to compromise or lose their first deposit if they expect, major repairs in the long run. So there's like a balance where the risks are, of losing a deposit is not as big as like potential to lose 30, 40K. So
Exactly.
they're like, and they're willing to make the offer more appealing to that way to the sellers, because overall, sometimes you walk through and you see like the home is new or you don't expect major issues. That's when you feel rather confident to do that informational purposes inspection.
So if you did an informational purposes inspection, could you say, with the exception of some big structural defect of the home?
I think it doesn't hurt. It just makes it loaded with more words and more language. I think the sellers and the seller agent understand that respectively, like potentially if the home inspection reveals those items, the buyers can still walk away, meaning they are not afraid of losing the first deposit, whether it's 1 or 3, if repairs are 30 grand, right? So I think it works well for both if the sellers do not expect major issues with their home and they know they will keeping it well. So now it's not a deal breaker for the sellers either, because they know their home is immaculate.
And you know what? That just rang a bell with me. A lot of sellers, and I've talked to a lot of sellers that have done this, they do a pre-home inspection before even listing their home. So they have that home inspection in hand. And when I list the house, that home inspection is available to anyone who wants to look at it. So it takes all the guesswork for the buyer out of it. They have an inspection. The seller's already done it. They may have had to fix a few things here and there. That'll be recorded. So it's on the seller as well, if they want to make an, clean deal and not have any questions about inspections and put the buyers at peace of mind. So I've seen that happen as well.
I feel like I'm surprised that more people don't do that. That sounds very smart.
Isn't it smart?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you come up with that?
Maybe.
Because I haven't seen anyone.
Yeah. So I've done it now several times with sellers.
Okay.
Because my seller's like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of the inspection and this and that. And this is during our pre-listing period. And I'll say to them, well, why don't we do an inspection? Why don't we find out? Is there anything in particular you think is going to be wrong with your house? No, I don't think so, but I don't know. Nobody really knows, right? So spend, $500, $600 and have a home inspector come in and check your house. And it will also allow you that if there is something wrong, to fix it ahead of time. It gives the seller peace of mind and it's going to give the buyer peace of mind. So that's one strategy I have used, and it does work well.
Yeah, I think especially when sellers have been living in the property for 30 years, they might not even know there are issues because they just seem to not to look up in the attic because they just kept something there and never come up there to see if there's any ventilation problems or something like that, right? So it's good to be prepared, and we know that preparation is like 90% of success, right?
Exactly.
Great. Speed and preparation. Huge things that go into submitting an offer that gets accepted, especially when you do have that deadline. And so most of the time the open houses is on the weekend. Maybe it's even Sunday afternoon where you're seeing the house for the first time, and then the offer might be due Monday at a certain time, at 12.
At 12. That's a long time to make a decision, isn't it, girls?
Right. And so do you want to talk about a little bit why it's so important to be prepared up front with your letter, and you've already spoken with your lender? Because if you see this house on a Sunday afternoon and that offer's due at noon the next day and you haven't even spoken to a lender, that is going to put a lot of stress in that process.
Definitely, you want to be prepared. Not all lenders work over the weekends. Some really good ones are, and they will be able to help you. But, life happens. You'd better, if you feel like it might be a good property for you, just make sure you ask for dated pre-approval ahead of time. Yet my biggest concern, I think, with those deadlines on lenders at noon or 2 p.m. or whatever it is that we have no time for due diligence at all. So we saw the property over the weekend. We don't even buy cars so quickly, right? So, and we are to present the offers on Monday. Well, which we haven't gone to the town hall. We haven't had a chance to make some phone calls. And that's what actually puts a lot more pressure on the buyers, especially those who are considering regular inspections. You want to have a chance to research the property to see, if there are any history of, previous claims on the property, or previous maybe water damage, or maybe permits were not closed off properly. So when do we do it, right?
So I think you can make a good realtor, a great realtor, a good buyer's agent, a great buyer's agent, by doing your due diligence and upfronting all of your work. So say that property comes on Wednesday. Your buyer is like, I need to see this. I want to see this. And they're having open houses. And a lot of realtors do this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. When they have open houses Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that's 3 looks your buyer will get at. You know that listing usually comes on Wednesday, sometimes Thursday. I hightail it down to town hall, check all the permits, figure out if there's anything going on in that house. Is there any red flags in their files? Have they done their Title V yet? If so, do they have a copy of it at town hall? If they don't, then you call the list agent and say, hey, do you have a copy of the Title V? A lot of times it's going to be attached to the listing. The other thing I would do is set up a schedule with your buyer and say, look, I can meet you there on Friday. I can't be there on Saturday, but if you like the house, I want you to bring mom and dad on Saturday, and then I'm going to go back on Sunday.
I agree with you that it's all doable. Yet sometimes we have multiple buyers we work with, right? And they like multiple homes to take a look at. And you don't even know which one they're gonna pick at the end.
Correct.
So you might just, be running around, checking on permits, and then they don't like it. And you have to be effective serving all the clients. And that's what we experience right now on the free market. Like, we have multiple clients to do the due diligence.
So that's why I think
work around this.
So I would work around it just for you and Kailyn to do it. You have created yourselves a team. So that means there's 2 of you instead of 1 of you. And 2 of you can split up and do the work. Instead of 1 person, 2 people. You can get out to town hall. You can do your due diligence. A lot of stuff, too, I'm learning is online. So instead of physically going to town hall, you can actually go online and find the permits and find all that stuff. Sometimes you still can't. You still have to go. But so that's how I would get around it. I would also get around it by trying to streamline down my buyers' locations and what they're looking for in a house. Instead of going out looking at 12 properties with them on a weekend, I would try to work with them along the way. Hopefully it's not your first weekend with them, and work with them along the way and say, okay, you want a ranch, but we're looking at colonials. Why are we looking at colonials if you want a ranch? You're looking in Drake-it, but you want to live in Andover. Why are we looking in Drake-it if you really want to live in Andover? So you need to wrangle them in a little bit, and that's where a good buyer's agent will take control of that situation and say, okay, we're going to work together. I'm going to accomplish your goals. You're telling me these are your goals, so this is what we're going to do. And you set up the action plan. You're driving the bus. Remember that,
Jerry.
You're welcome.
If you're the selling agent on a property, would it be smart for you to go to town hall and see if there are any open permits first?
Well, that is something that you should do every time you get a listing.
Right.
Every single time you get a listing, you check town hall and you see if there's open permits. You talk to and you check and see if they had they said they had the Title V. Make sure it is in town hall for your sellers. And if there's any issues with their files at town hall, you discuss that with your sellers prior to listing the property. So the minute you have a signed contract, that's when you start your work at town hall. It's one of the very, very first things you do as a listing agent.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't know what else I had on my board. Do you want to talk about a little bit about earnest money and how to decide how much to put down on a home? Because a lot of people still think that you have to put 20% down.
That's a good question, but
Okay.
are you going to raise that too? But earnest money is the money, the deposit that is given to the real estate company to hold. We've never requested 20% down. It's usually 5%. Okay. So that was just my.
Let's restart.
Okay, we can restart. Well, that's what, like, I was wording it like, I'm not asking you questions as if I'm like the audience. So a lot of people think that that's how it works.
So no, you do not need to put 20% down in earnest money. Typically, when you put down earnest money, the either the seller's attorney or the seller's real estate brokerage is going to hold that money in escrow. All that money goes towards the purchase of the home. Generally, it's 5%. I have seen in the past several years people putting down more than 5%, probably 10%, with the thought that the more money I put down, the more vested I am in the property. The seller is going to appreciate that more. So I generally, before I am done, I would always ask for 10% to put down in a competitive situation.
Yeah. I think there are always two realities, and that's how I run my consultation too. Like, here's what the normal market conditions and terms on the offer, and that's what we do in a competitive market. Like, that's how we can improve, starting like with the inspection language. Deposits do matter, like what you put with your first deposit, with your second deposit, and that all matters. That all adds up to your offer being stronger. And that's where you're going towards the mortgage contingency. Again, there are some ways how you, without leaving it or going extreme, you can still make it a little bit better looking for the sellers, and kind of guarantee some price for the seller where they will feel confident that you can accomplish what you promised to the offer. And that's why I agree with Jerry. 10%, if you can do 10% with escrow, then you show you are committed, you show you're a serious buyer, and the sellers feel good about yourself. That's the way to improve your offer.
Right, because you can have a clean and a good offer, but it also is great if it's specifically favorable for those specific sellers. So can you talk about how your buyer's agent communication comes in when it comes to drafting an offer that makes a seller smile?
Yeah.
I think communication with the selling agent. So as a buyer's agent, I would talk to the list agent and say, what do your sellers need? My buyers are extremely flexible. They can help you out in whichever way they need to help you out. What do they need? So you'll know going into, and then you communicate that to your buyers and see if your buyers can do it or they can't do it. So I think the more that they can accommodate the needs of the seller, obviously is going to be better for them.
Because many people may assume, like, oh, we're going to go in with a 30-day close. This is going to be great. Like, you might not realize that the sellers might not want a 30-day close.
Exactly. I agree with you girls on that. Communication is really important. And I would say it's one of the most important things is to establish that communication, to show that we're coming in as a great team, including the lender. The lender has to be like on top of things, has to send out an email confirming the buyers are great. That shows overall how great we are to work with. And then checking in, asking for updates. How are we looking? What are we against? Like, do we have other, and sometimes you don't get those insights, but at least you convey that message that you are a proactive agent. You're great to work with, the buyers committed, and commitment a lot of times more valuable than some
100%.
Some couple of extra $1,000 on the offer, to be honest. So it's really important.
Yeah. What would you say to a buyer who maybe they've submitted offers on a few properties and they've gotten beat out and they're feeling a little bit discouraged?
That is the worst, isn't it, as a buyer's agent? The poor people, they're just dragged. They're like, I can't do this again, right? So it's hard, but part of our job is to be rah-rah cheerleader, right? And look at your offers that you've submitted and see if there's something in those offers that you could have improved on, and discuss that with your buyer. Whether it's timing, whether it's money, whether it's timing of signing a purchase and sale, whether it's terms. I think communication, we're not going to get this because of this. And it's not an easy discussion to have with your buyer, but I think it is a valuable discussion to have.
Absolutely. What I'm doing when we don't get the offer accepted, I'm saying, well, it was a great experience. We learned some great lessons so that by the next time and I always tell them, if that didn't work out, it means there would be something better coming along. So, and this is a good lesson for us to be prepared to grab that one, because that's the one that's for them, that's meant for them. And that's how I try to keep them positive, enjoying the process itself. Because imagine like looking through the houses, envisioning herself, what's your dream? Like what you like about this one, what you like about it. It's kind of build out that image of your perfect home. And of course, sometimes it might be the first home they saw, they loved it, they got the offer accepted. But sometimes it needs to get into shape through that experience, through that, competition going through. And that's how, and I'm telling sometimes my buyers need to learn some lessons here. I know the market, they don't. And they might that's how we build the trust between each other. When I told them something that we're going to do this, and they were like a little bit reluctant to do that the first time, well, now they know to trust me the next time.
Right.
And they will not let the opportunity pass by next time. Sure.
Exactly.
Teamwork.
Every rejection is one step closer to an accepted offer.
Correct. I like that.
I also like numbers games. The more offers we put in, the higher likely
the percentage of one getting accepted will go up, right? Yes.
But we don't put multiple offers at the same time.
No, we do not. That is highly illegal.
No, we don't.
That one. Okay. Thank you for listening.